Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to kind of rant about the big three and the trainees under these companies. I will talk about training process and privileges and about the fact that people think that idols under the big three don't have to train as much as idols from smaller companies. This video is just me saying my personal opinions, and if you know that you can't take other people's opinions and points of view, please click off this video. And now let's start with the video. Let's start at the beginning. In the K-pop industry there is something as the big three companies. These companies are the biggest and most successful entertainment companies that consist of YG Entertainment, founded by Yang Ha-suk, SM Entertainment founded by Lee Soo-man, and JYP Entertainment founded by Park Jin-young. And for those who may not know what Big Three privilege stands for, Big Three privilege is used by K-pop fans to describe the certain privileges that K-pop groups under the Big Three may get. K-pop groups who debut under one of these big three companies will have a higher chance at popularity, but of course in some cases, that's not true. Some idols who are under one of these big companies aren't as known as their fellow artists. Companies like the big three who have had very successful groups in the past are most likely to have more money than smaller companies which can get used for the training of these new idols, big projects, more and better promotion, producers and much more. How do these companies get that money? That all goes back to their older groups. JYP, SM and YG have had very, if not the most popular groups in the previous generations of K-pop music. YG owned or still owns artists like Big Bang, 2NE1, Psy, Epic High and much more. For SM that would have to be SHINee, BoA, SNSD, Super Junior, FX, EXO and much more. And lastly for JYP that would be 2PM, 2AM, Wonder Girls, Miss A and others. I'm sure you have heard of most of these groups if you've been into K-pop for some time now. K-pop groups who debuted after these groups like Blackpink, iKON, Winner, Red Velvet, NCT, Twice, Stray Kids, GOT7 and ITZY have a higher chance at popularity than groups who debut under a small or almost unknown company. That doesn't mean all the artists who debut under a big three company will get that success. That also doesn't mean that groups who debut under smaller companies have no chance at success. Groups like BTS, ATEEZ, Mamamoo, 17, G.Idol and a lot more didn't debut under one of these big three companies and yet are very successful artists. What I've noticed a lot recently is how people like to say that idols under the big three don't need to train as much, and that's completely false. In these bigger companies, the competition between trainees to be able to get their spot in the final lineup for the upcoming group is big, since these bigger companies have more trainees. Like SM has about 60 trainees right now, YG around 20 to 40 and JYP from 50 to 100 according to the calculations of YouTuber Internetsnathan. These companies have such a large amount of trainees because they have the money to train them, but some smaller companies don't have that, so their amount of trainees will be much lower, which makes the competition between trainees less intense than in these big companies. I'm not saying the idols under smaller companies don't have to train hard. Trainees under these smaller companies have to train as hard to make sure they can stand out in the industry and to work hard to be able to get their name out there. In both cases, these trainees have to work immensely hard, and saying idols under the big three have to work less hard is just not correct and wrong. In fact, trainees with the longest training periods all trained under the big three, which proves that the big three puts extra effort in their idols, and big three trainees have to work extremely hard. These companies find hidden gems through several auditions and street casting. Also, surviving as a trainee and making the final cut is harder in the big three. There are so many trainees who don't even know if they'll make it or not, but still train for years. Some even leave not being able to handle the pressure in these companies. If the idols come from one of the big three companies, the company ensures that the group will have a professional team working for them, and they have the budget to make sure their plans with a certain group can be fulfilled. These idols may not be living in the worst conditions, but they aren't exactly living in luxury. Coming from a big company doesn't mean you will be treated better than the others. Until these idols make it big themselves, they don't receive extra special treatment, and the company keeps following their plans for the group. The big three artists might be hyped up since debut because their companies are well known for their older groups who have a lot of popularity, but that makes the general public have bigger expectations on the rookie groups. and if they don't live up to the expectations, they face heavy criticism. So, debuting under the big three has its benefits, but it can be harder as well. Big three artists usually talk about their hardships on television, how they didn't have enough food to eat, or about the times when they were totally broke. The big three companies invest more in the project. The idols get treated pretty much the same, if not worse in some cases. People take these idols and their hard work for granted just because they come from a big company. These idols are extremely talented. If the big three privilege really did exist, that just means these idols from the big three work hard to meet up with the standards. Also, these days new companies are debuting talented groups with a lot of budget, and these groups are making it big in the industry. I wanna end this video with saying that both trainees from a big company and trainees from small companies have to work immensely hard to get where they are today, and that all groups from under the big three or not deserve success. I hope that with this video I could make the people who believed that trainees under the big three don't have to train as hard as non-big three trainees change their minds, or at least see the other side too. This is the end of the video. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.
Awesome screen, awesome camera, long lasting battery life. Awesome screen, awesome camera, awesome screen, awesome camera, awesome screen, awesome camera, awesome screen, awesome camera, awesome camera, awesome screen, awesome camera, long lasting battery life.